Ramily, it's time to preview the NFC West on today's episode of the Rams Report presented by PrizePicks. Guys, play alongside all of us here at Chat Sports. And when you sign up for the PrizePicks app, make sure you use code HMA to get $50 in bonus lineups when you play your first $5 lineup. But like I was saying, on today's episode of the Rams Report, we're going to be going division opponent by division opponent. We're going to power rank our division opponents, and we're going to scout them. We're going to see how they've improved or maybe regressed this offseason. I do think generally our opponents have taken steps forward or at least remained the same, and we're going to kind of see how they stack up against the Rams and how our improvements compare to them going into the 2026 season, because, guys, we are less than 10 days away from the start of training camp. I just cannot wait. But before we get into it, if you agree that the Los Angeles Rams are the best team in the NFC West, the best in the West, then subscribe to the Rams Report today. Guys, we just passed 10K last week, and we're already well on the road to 11,000 subscribers. Big time shout out to y'all. I really appreciate the support. You guys are real ones. Make sure you hit that subscribe button if you haven't already joined our Ramily, though, for all the news and rumors you need around your favorite team. But let's jump in to our power rankings here. Number one, and again, this is power rankings of just our opponents. So this is not me saying the Seahawks are better than the Rams, but I do believe that the Seahawks are the number one team outside of us in the NFC West. I think they're our number one opponent to worry about in the division. In 2025, we went 1-1 against them in the regular season, and obviously we dropped the conference championship game. But regular season results, we won in week 11, 21-19, and then we had the painful overtime loss where they rallied back from down off the top of my head, I cannot remember, but way too much that we shouldn't have given up that lead. In the last 10 matchups against the Seahawks, we are 5-5, but in the last 5 specifically, we are 4-1. So it's again, or actually, no, we're 2-3, excuse me. I think that's the stat from another team, my bad. But yeah, we're 2-3 against them in our last 5 matchups. We've lost the last 2 against them. So again, a little bit of struggle against the Sea Chickens lately, but when you look at their offseason, they are obviously the reigning Super Bowl and NFC West champions, but not a lot of notable additions and a lot of notable losses. They did add in the first round this year Jadarian Price, a running back I was a little bit surprised to see go that early, to be completely honest with you. I had him more as like a late second round guy, early third round guy on my board. Notable losses, though, their offensive coordinator, Clint Kubiak, I think that's the biggest one that you've got to take note of right away. But then Kenneth Walker, their star running back, he went over to the Kansas City Chiefs, and Boye Mafe signed with the Washington Commanders. So 2 incredibly notable losses. Mafe, a huge part of their success on defense last season. But even regardless of the fact that I don't really think they got notably better this offseason, they're still the biggest test for the Rams in 2026, regardless of whether you want to talk about the divisional opponents alone or just the entire NFL at large. I think the number one team that you have to watch out for this season is Seattle. Absolutely. And you guys agreed. This past week, we did a poll asking you guys who the number one opponent you believe is going to be the toughest for the Rams this season. 73% of over 2,500 respondents told us it is going to be the Seattle Seahawks. And again, I could not agree more. I think it is a pretty obvious conclusion. You are dealing with, outside of us, the best team in the NFL. They undeniably have a top 3 defense in the league. I think last year they were the best defense in the league, but I think you go into this season, you're looking at us, the Houston Texans, and them. Those are your consensus top 3 defenses in the NFL. I believe they have the second best receiver in the league. Again, I think Puka's number 1, but I've watched Jackson Smith-Njigba a lot, and I've watched him do some disgusting things to our defense. I really hope that's going to change this offseason, but we're going to get into that more in just one second. And then lastly, you can't take this away from them. They are extremely well coached. They've been well coached for like a decade under Pete Carroll and now under Mike Macdonald. This team remains one of the NFL's best coached teams, both offensively and especially defensively under Macdonald. We're going to continue to talk about them and how the Rams' improvements maybe mute their strengths in just one second. But before we do, I got to tell you guys, lately, with the weather getting as hot as it is, the number one thing I want to do is go out and see a live event. And today's show is made possible by the same people who've made that possible for me lately, SeatGeek, the best place to get all your tickets. Guys, whether I'm looking for tickets to a Rams game or tickets to a concert with my fiance, I know SeatGeek is going to have me covered. Guys, they've radically changed my ticket buying experience, and they always ensure that I get a good deal because every ticket on SeatGeek is rated on a scale of 1 to 10, and they also color code those bad boys as well. So I don't even have to look at the scary numbers. I could just look at the green dots and go for those and avoid the red dots. And I'm also always taking a look at the seat view as well. Every seat on SeatGeek comes with a custom seat view that shows you exactly what it's going to look like from that spot in the stadium, so you know that you're getting the kind of view you want to pay for. And speaking of paying for it, of course, I've got a code for you guys. You can use code CHAT10 for 10% off your next set of tickets at SeatGeek. That's 10% off any tickets with promo code CHAT10. Make sure you click the link in the description to download the app and have the code automatically added to your account so you can use it later. Thank you, SeatGeek, for sponsoring today's video. Let's talk about Jackson Smith-Njigba. All right. I don't like talking about Jackson Smith-Njigba. I'm not going to lie to you guys. Especially because the last 3 times we've played him, he has done that to our defense. 27 receptions for 354 yards and 2 touchdowns. He has been borderline unstoppable the last 3 times we have faced him. And again, despite it, we were right there. Right there. In all 3 of these games. You are right there with this team. Despite the fact that you could not consistently get stops, despite the fact that you could not consistently get off the football field. So what do you go and do? You give up nearly 7 yards per play last season to the Seattle defense. You let Jackson Smith-Njigba cook you to the tune of over 100 yards per game. So you go out and trade for an all-pro at corner in Trent McDuffie. You go out and you get Jalen Watson to star for you on the other side as a free agent signing. Along the defensive line, you add an enormous presence in Myles Garrett as well. You bring in 3 guys, who've totally changed the strength of this defense, who've totally revamped this defense from genuinely, and I hate to say this, just a bad one. Last season, the Rams defense was not good at times. It wasn't even just average, it was outright bad. Now I genuinely believe, and I think we're going to see it in action. It's hard to say it before you've seen him in action, that we have one of the best defenses in the NFL. And it's going to change everything against Seattle. Unfortunately, we don't get to see it for a while. We're going to see Seattle on Christmas. We are spending our Christmas right here. I am so excited. We will be live for every game this season. But if there's one that I am looking forward to the most, my friends, it is Week 16, spending my Christmas with you guys, watching the Seattle Seahawks get shredded at their place. I cannot wait for that one. And then we see them again to close out the year in Week 18. But we all know which one is really going to matter. Because trust me, I think both these teams are going to be in a position to rest their starters in Week 18. So this is the one that is going to be for all the marbles before we almost certainly see them again in the playoffs when it, turn it up another notch. But again, I think we got better this offseason. Much better. Almost, and it's not even I think. We did get better this offseason. And now I think Seattle got worse. I don't think they got incredibly worse, but I do think this is a team that did not take a step forward this season. I do think this is a team that is dealing with more transition and turnover than we are in ways that really matter. They lost their offensive coordinator. So did we, but our offensive coordinator doesn't call plays. Their offensive coordinator did. Their offensive coordinator has gone on to be the head coach with the Raiders. I think he's going to have a lot of success with that team. Maybe not right away, but we saw what he was able to accomplish and the ways he lifted things for Seattle's offense last year. That's not there anymore. And neither is Ken Walker, who added such an explosive element to that run game. Is that going to carry this season? I don't know. I think we're well set up to handle the Seahawks, though. But next, we got to talk about the Niners. San Francisco feels firmly planted in the number 2 spot as far as our opponents in the conference go. Our record against them, over the last few years has been a little bit, up and down. We're 5-5 in the last 10. This one says 2-3. We are 4-1 in our last 5 matchups against the San Francisco 49ers. I realized what I did is I flipped the Seahawks and the Niners ones. But 26-23 overtime loss in week 5 and a 42-26 win to get back against them in week 10. That was the painful Kyron Williams fumble right near the goal line that lost us that game in overtime last year. The Niners, another team, I will say, in our division, I think, unlike Seattle, this is a team that did take some big, noticeable steps to get better. Notable additions include Mike Evans, Christian Kirk, Ashton Davis on defense, and Osa Odigizua, who they traded for from the Dallas Cowboys, sending a third-round pick to go add a big presence in the middle of their defense. They did lose Juwan Jennings, Spencer Burford, and Sky Moore, but at the end of the day, I think Juwan Jennings and Burford are really the only notable losses of that group. We're going to see them in week 1. It's a home game for us on paper, but it's really in Melbourne at the Melbourne Cricket Grounds. Excited to see us get out to Australia, but a little bit bummed that we lose a divisional home game against the San Francisco 49ers. We're going to continue talking about this game in just 1 second and the San Francisco 49ers and how we stack up against them this season. But since we started talking about it, it kind of reminds me of how excited I am for this season to get here so I can get back into placing some PrizePicks lineups on professional football. Guys, I love me some PrizePicks. If you've ever watched the Rams Report or anything Chat Sports, you know that PrizePicks is America's #1 sports picks app and our presenting sponsor here at Chat Sports. But if you've never heard of them and you love daily fantasy sports or you just want to add more excitement to watching sports, it's a fantastic time to get started on PrizePicks, guys. All you have to do is pick from 2 to 6 players. You're selecting more or less on their stat projections, whether you're picking from receiving yards, passing yards, regular season stats. They've got it all for professional football in the season-long projections. This is one that I've got going on some rookies. I'm going with the less on Mendoza, the less on Jeremiah Love, and the more on Jordan Tyson. That's a little 20 to win, 120, John. So you guys can tell me on that. You could fade me, whatever you want to do. Just do it with PrizePicks. And if you're brand new to PrizePicks, make sure you use our promo code. Download the PrizePicks app today and use code HMA when you play your first $5 lineup to receive $50 in lineups. That's go to HMA when you play your first $5 lineup to get an extra $50 in lineups with PrizePicks. The clickable link to download the app is in the comments and the description below. Keep talking about the Niners here. Number one thing you got to talk about with the Niners, and I think this is something that a lot of Rams fans, try to take away credit for, and I understand it. Shanahan is elite. We'll just level set on it. He is an elite head coach. I don't think he's as good as Sean McVay. That's not what I'm saying. But you've got to acknowledge that year after year, this team deals with injuries, seemingly more injuries than your average NFL team nearly every season. There are seasons where it feels like they have more injuries than anybody, and they're always there. They are always there under Kyle Shanahan. You know they're going to be competitive. On offense, Christian McCaffrey remains a versatile threat. You just can't discredit him. As long as he's healthy, he's going to be a huge part of their offense. He's going to be difficult to stop. He's one of the best running backs of our generation. A fun player. I wish we didn't have to face him twice a year. And then lastly, they have the best inside linebacker in the NFL. He's coming off of a season plagued by injuries. It's tough to know what he's going to be coming off of that season. But what I can tell you is what he's been throughout his entire career to this point is the best inside linebacker in the NFL. It doesn't get any better than Fred Warner in the league right now. And the other thing they did this offseason that I think is more notable than a lot of people are giving it credit for is they went out and flipped this receiver room. Last year, receiver was an interesting situation for the San Francisco 49ers. One of the many rooms where injuries really stacked up for them. Obviously, they had difficulty at quarterback as well with Purdy missing significant time. And it just kind of caused stall-outs in that offense throughout the year. But what do? You go get Mike Evans, you go get Christian Kirk, and you go draft Dejon Stribling. 3 pretty solid weapons. Stribling, a guy we talked about being a third-round target for the Rams. They went out and got him in the second, which I did feel like was a little bit early. But overall, you've added 3 weapons that are going to be top 4 guys for you in this offense next to Ricky Pearsall, who is a first-round pick, and as long as he could stay healthy, I do believe he has a lot of talent as well. I think that's more notable than a lot of people are giving it credit for. You've also got to remember George Kittle is back and healthy this season. He will be starting for this team in week 1 if reports are to be believed. we're going to see him, as I said early on in this, in Australia in week 1 of this season. I have it marked as a home game with an asterisk because we know. And then again in week 14. So it's a bit of a big gap between our games with the Niners. Don't really love that. Would love to get them out of the way pretty early on in the season. But we'll see him again in week 14 on the road in San Francisco. Technically. I mean, that game is as much in San Francisco as this game is a home game for us. I'm just going to say that, San Francisco fans. Moving on. Number 3, Arizona Cardinals. Who else? I mean, who else was coming in last in this power rankings? Then the Arizona Cardinals. Oh, man, you almost have to feel bad for them. It's sad. It really is. This ain't going to be nice, but at the end of the day, we know how it's been for Arizona for a little while now. In 2025, we kicked their asses twice, 45-17 in week 14 and then 37-20 in week 18. They're not a good team. They haven't been a good team for a very long time. They're aiming for their first playoff appearance since 2021. I do feel like there's more to discuss this year with the Arizona Cardinals than there is in a while, but they are undeniably the redheaded stepchild of the NFC West, literally and figuratively, with their bright red coloring. Notable adds for them: Jeremiah Love, Isaac Seumalo's coming in as well. A lot of running back additions for them. They signed Tyler Algier, and obviously their new head coach, our offensive coordinator, Mike LaFleur. I think that might be the most significant thing they did this offseason is try to flip it at head coach. And I like LaFleur. I do think he's going to be a positive needle mover for Arizona, but it ain't going to happen overnight. And this season, probably we're not going to see huge differences from LaFleur's presence. Trey McBride, though, anytime you're game planning for the Arizona Cardinals, you're game planning around stopping Trey McBride. They have arguably the best tight end in the NFL right now. He is. I think he's underrated. I think in any other offense, he would probably already be considered the best tight end in the NFL, but you turn on the tape with that guy, and he is as good as anybody. And then lastly, their run game, obviously you add in Jeremiah Love, but it's intriguing even beyond Jeremiah Love. They also brought in Zonovan Taylor from the New York Jets, and I mentioned Tyler Algier recently, or Zonovan Knight, excuse me, not Zonovan Taylor, from the New York Jets, and then Tyler Algier from the Atlanta Falcons. So that's pretty solid stable of running backs in there for Arizona. Some guys that can work. James Conner's still in that room as well. As long as he can stay healthy, they're going to have a pretty stellar run game if the offensive line can clear holes. There's added intrigue for Arizona this year, undeniably. This is a team that feels a little bit more exciting this season with Kyler Murray out of the way. You're going to have a quarterback conversation there. Who knows what's going on with Jacoby Brissett? Is this going to be Carson Beck? I don't know. You don't know. Does it matter? At the end of the day, they're still going to be awful. There's more to talk about with Arizona this offseason, but at the end of the day, all roads lead to the Cardinals are not going to be a very good football team once again. I don't think they have a prayer of beating us. Maybe they sneak one against us at the end of the day. But we're going to see him in week 6, and we're going to see him in week 10. Quick turnaround on Arizona. Week 6, Mike LaFleur gets a little bit of a homecoming to Los Angeles. He'll come see us at SoFi Stadium with his boys. And then week 10, we go see them out in Arizona. So, very interesting stuff for this division. At the end of the day, you're really worried about 2 teams, Seahawks and Niners. But those 2 teams are 2 of the top 5 best in the NFL at large. This is the NFL's toughest division. I feel bad for the Arizona Cardinals, but we are ready to dominate it this year. I really do feel that way. This team is as prepared as it's ever been to go out and take this division by force. But it still is one that you are going to have to wrench away from 2 really good teams in the Seattle Seahawks and the San Francisco 49ers, but you're perfectly capable of doing it. And let me know, do you agree? What will the Rams' divisional record be in 2026? I want to hear some predictions in the comments section below. Give me 6-0. I think we sweep our divisional opponents in 2026. I think we I think we get after them this year. I think we get after the whole league this year, but I think we really take it to Seattle, and I think we really take it to San Francisco. I think we go 6-0 against the NFC West in 2026. But I want to hear from you in the comment section below, and that's going to wrap it up for today's episode of the Rams Report. As always, thanks for tuning in. I'm going to see you tomorrow.